Hey all, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of another 4K action camera by DBPower. This is the N5 Pro, and it's one of the least expensive versions on the market for 4K action cams. You can find this for $90, and it supports a 30-meter underwater capability through the use of this included waterproof case. It also has a 20-megapixel sensor by Sony that is capable of capturing that 4K content, and what's really unique about the N5 Pro is it has a secondary display on the front. It's a regular monochrome LCD, but it will tell you basic battery status, things like that, at a quick glance, so for vlogging it could be a pretty useful secondary feature. Otherwise, for $90 you also get a secondary spare battery as part of the value, and on the back we do have a 2-inch LCD display for viewing back your images. There is also built-in Wi-Fi, which allows you to connect this to a companion app on iOS or Android, so it gives you a larger screen to view back your images and videos before you begin recording them. The lens here has 170 degrees, so it's also a very wide angle. Now the biggest question here is whether the N5 Pro is really compelling compared to some of DBPower's own offerings that we've checked out recently, including the EX7000 Pro. You may remember that this one has a touchscreen display, has a larger 2.4-inch screen as well, so it's a bit more intuitive to use. Another size comparison, we have the Xiaomi Mi 4K action camera, which is another very popular 4K cam for a fraction of the price that you would pay for a GoPro. And again, it has a larger display since it is touch sensitive. Alright, so setting this off to the side, other contents that you get in the box, again, are just a wide array of mounts, as well as chargers that we typically see with most action cameras, and there's also the micro USB cable for charging inside. It takes about 2 hours to completely charge, and afterwards you'll get roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours of video recording, depending on whether you have Wi-Fi turned on, before the battery drains. So let's take a quick look at the design of the N5 Pro first. It's fairly unassuming aside from that secondary display on the front. It's made entirely out of plastic in terms of the construction, but it's pretty lightweight and feels decent enough as far as build is concerned. We have some rough soft touch rubber on the sides, which makes it slightly easier to grip. We have access to controls that takes you up and down through the menus. The front also has a dedicated power key, and once it's turned on, I can also tap on this once to go through the individual modes, such as recording video, taking images, viewing back your content, so on and so forth. On the top, there's a easy shutter key, an LED status light, and the other side we have a micro SD, micro USB, and micro HDMI. On the bottom, there is a tripod mount, and there's just the battery compartment. All right, so turning the device on, let's take a quick look at the interface. It's actually very similar to other DBPower action cams that we've already seen in the past, aside from the touchscreen EX7000 Pro, which has a modified interface. But on here we just have the time remaining, so we have 40 minutes on this particular memory card, and right now the resolution it's being recorded at is full HD at 60 frames per second. The microphone is also on, as you can see here, and it's also on auto mode as far as ISO and scene detection. This is the battery percentage remaining on the bottom, the time that it's been on, a date stamp, and if I tap on the plus key, can also initiate the digital zoom. It can zoom up to 5 times, as you can see here, which is a pretty neat feature, since not all action cams will have it. And again, 170 degrees is indeed a very wide angle, so I can almost get the entire table here into view, despite the fact that it's really just a few centimeters away from this box in real life. The controls are fairly intuitive. Again, tapping on the mode key once more takes me into the image taking mode, and we are at 20 megapixels. We can go into our view back, taking a look at some of the videos that we've recorded on here, and if I want to play on this, I would tap on the shutter key once, and it's going to play back. There's a small microphone as well, so sound will also be played. And now looking at the front display, so right now it just says 46, and there's the battery status. That means that there's currently 46 photos as well as media files stored on our memory card. And here's the setup screen that gives us additional controls for things like loop recording, gyroscope for the EIS. There's also slow motion, which is a pretty cool trick, even though we can only record it at 720p instead of 4K, in addition to checking out Wi-Fi. So I can turn on Wi-Fi, for instance, and now I can connect it using the companion app on your phone. Another really interesting thing is it has voice prompts. So if I tap on record, you can hear it say that it started recording video. There's a small delay of about a split second, and then it will start, so I can very quickly tell from the back. And if I stop it again, put it close to the microphone, it'll tell you the video recording has stopped. Alright, so next let's take a quick look at some of the sample video footage that we recorded using this camcorder. So as seen from our sample shots, the quality of the footage is actually fairly impressive. You do get plenty of detail in your images, and overall contrast and colors are also quite accurate. Overall, compared to the last DBPower action cam that we checked out, which was again the EX7000 Pro, I would say that the quality is very similar. In fact, this one actually gives you a little bit more detail if you capture images and you zoom all the way in, since it comes in at 20 megapixels versus the EX7000, which is 16 megapixels. As a whole, again, in good lighting, it really does produce sharp as well as natural looking objects and shots. And for things like sports, for vlogging, I think that you'll be more than satisfied. I also like the fact that it does include a standard tripod mount directly on the bottom, so you can directly put this onto a small stand and then capture, let's say, footage, time lapse, or just a memorable shot with friends and family. So you can check out more details in the links down below, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the DBPower N5 Pro 4K action camera.